Okay, we're going to be doing some writing conventions and definitions of vectors. So I'm going to start with the writing conventions. So the first one, vectors are generally denoted by a letter with an arrow. So we can write this vector right here. This arrow is actually vector v with an arrow on top. So this is a proper way for naming your vector. So we can name it v with an arrow on top. We can also use the origin and the end of a vector to name it. So if we use AB, we can draw this vector that is going to be called vector AB with an arrow on top. So this is another proper way of naming vectors. Now, into definitions. We're going to start with the length. The length of a vector v is also called the norm. So we can use norm. We can use modulus. We can also use magnitude, or we can also use intensity. So we use all those names when we're talking about the length of the vector v. Now, two vectors are equal if and only if they have the same length, direction, and orientation. We have to have the same three basic definitions of the vector that are equal. So if you have a vector like this, the only other vector that is equal to that one is exactly the same vector that has same length, same direction, so it's in a parallel dotted line, and the arrow is on the same side. So those two vectors are equal. The null vector or zero vector is noted 0 with an arrow on top, is a vector of 0 length. So this vector has a length of 0. It is the only vector that does not have a direction. Of course, there is no length, so there is no line to draw. We represent the null vector by a point. So this point is the null vector, and the null vector is not equal to 0, because 0 is a number, and the null vector is, of course, a vector. So that's it. See you in the next video.